So, good morning, everyone. This is the 25th Automation Fair, and back in the early 90s, the Automation Fair was held in Atlanta. It was the second one. The first one was in Philadelphia, and I was a young sales engineer working out of the Atlanta office, and talking to some of my customers at the time, people like Coca-Cola, Southwire, a local systems integrator, Factory Automation Systems, to try to get them interested in this new thing that Rockwell Automation was going to be doing here. And I'm happy to say that almost 25 years down the road, Coca-Cola and Southwire, Factory Automation Systems are still big customers for us. And so we're thrilled that we're able to build on what has been just a rock-solid legacy, but also as we talk about the technology and the people and the processes that allow us to bring the connected enterprise to life, how we take that legacy forward. So let's start with some of the global trends that are affecting us. One of the key ones is the rise of the middle class, particularly in emerging economies around the world. And the implications for us is to be able to compete in markets that aren't our home markets, and to be able to deal with competitive pressures that are stronger than ever before. The next is the skills gap, and this is one that affects us all around the world. The fact is, in the US alone, there are hundreds of thousands of good manufacturing jobs that are going unfilled because talent doesn't have the necessary skills to be able to deal with the technology and the ways to work that are required by these companies and these jobs. And that's a problem around the world, particularly as we see the workers in manufacturing plants that brought the first waves of automation to their processes as they're getting close to retirement and they're struggling to replace themselves. And so that's a huge trend for us, because as I'll talk about and others later on will talk about, this isn't just about the technology. This is about the people as well, and that is the competitive edge. And then finally, the globalization. We're in a globally competitive economy, and so we and our customers have to compete against the very best in the world all the time. From a technology standpoint, the lower cost of connectivity is driving a lot of the opportunities for productivity that we see. Rockwell has long talked about the benefits of connected devices and machinery and plants, and the costs are dropping rapidly in order to be able to do that. Many of you in this room remember when we talked about different levels of networks. You had your network that connected your devices, and you had your network that connected programmable controllers, and then a different network that took the information up into computers and into ERP systems. That's collapsing, and it's converging on Ethernet based on the cost per point is getting to a point where the benefits of simplification and moving to a single network are outweighing the need to have multiple networks in a given plant. And then with that infrastructure that can bring unprecedented amounts of data throughout the system is the opportunity to add another level of productivity with information management and analytics. Now, as you'll hear, analytics doesn't all have to be done in the cloud. Analytics at the right point in the architecture is absolutely critical. There's analytics that are best performed right on that device that's turning a motor on a plant floor. There are analytics in the programmable controller and that's the best place to do it. And then there are some, particularly when you're aggregating large amounts of information from across multiple plants, where the cloud has an important role. Countries around the world recognize that they have an opportunity to facilitate productivity in their companies and to have home field advantage if they encourage the development of this technology and these concepts around connectivity. I was in China in August, and the concept of China Manufacturing 2025 is required. I mean, companies have to pay attention to that, and they are, and they're adopting that connectivity and the benefits of integrating control and information at some of the highest rates in the world. Make in India, Industry 4.0. Obviously, when I was in Europe last month, Industry 4.0 is on everybody's mind. So around the world, countries and the companies that are talking to them have made it clear that these are opportunities that are going to potentially unlock unprecedented productivity. We have a vision of the connected enterprise that's a practical way to make these concepts reality. And they're not in opposition to any of the country-sponsored initiatives. They're a way to get started, and they're a way to help companies along their journey. The connected enterprise provides value for industrial companies in one or more of four important ways. They help those companies bring their product to market faster. They help those producers lower their total cost of ownership. They help them increase the utilization of their assets by reducing unplanned downtime. And they help them manage their enterprise risk and comply with regulations. An important enabler for bringing the connected enterprise to life is the convergence of IT and OT, information technology and operational technology. But it's not just about the technology. It's also about the commercial practices, the concept of service level agreements and the blending of the value add along with the technology. And that value add includes an expertise in the specific applications. This is all interesting stuff when we talk about the connectivity, but it doesn't become real until you can begin to describe the benefits in the language of a customer-specific application. And this is where we think Rockwell has a real advantage, because the IT providers know how to sift through large amounts of data, but we know where to look. And so as we look at the combination of these technologies, beginning very importantly with the data that's born on those plant floor devices and brought up through your controllers and then turned into useful information, you don't have to have separate architectures, one for control and one for information. It's very efficient to be able to use those same devices that are information enabled and to be able to turn the data that's a natural byproduct of the control process into useful information to help the operators make better decisions about their processes and to be more productive. So we're walking the walk. We started some years ago and looking at how we could apply these concepts to our own production facilities. And it's a little bit of a challenge because, quite frankly, our production facilities are not particularly automation intensive. There's a lot of manual assembly, and so they actually, per square foot probably have less programmable controllers than a lot of our customers do. But the concepts we learned were consistent, and the benefits were really amazing. We started with the basics by value stream mapping our processes, by looking at the work practices, the culture that existed on the plant floor. There's no shortcut to understanding where your pools of potential savings are in a plant floor. Technology is not going to save you if you don't go through those basics. But after that, we looked at the opportunity to be able to reduce inventory in those plants, to be able to reduce WIP, to be able to error-proof our processes to reduce the need for rework. And the results measured in things like time to market are tangible, and they're driving increased sales for us. But we didn't stop there, because an important point with the connected enterprise is that it's not a one and done discrete event. Each customer, as did we in our individual plants, starts from a unique point, and there's an opportunity to be able to add value along the way. So we recently have embarked on what you might call a phase 2 of applying this technology by bringing in more data streams, our quality processes, a little bit more information that's coming from our supply chain, using the cloud for some of the large information management challenges to complement the on-premise use of our software and these new processes to change the work. It's not necessarily about reducing the number of people as it is to change the work that they're being asked to do. And again, we're confident that we can continue to drive productivity in our own plants, which helps inform us as we talk to customers about their own journey. An important comment on customers is that, there's not a lot of capital expansion going on. So the majority of the plants and the processes that we're talking about are brownfields. They're existing plants, and there may be capacity expansions within those plants, or it might be upgrades of equipment that was installed many years ago. So you have to be able to catch a customer at their particular spot in their journey. You can't apply a one-size-fits-all that might be applicable to a brand new installation, but isn't pragmatic when you're talking about an existing process that may be running 24/7 that needs to be upgraded. Our approach is consistent as we look at the different industries, and it involves 3 main elements. The first, it's absolutely essential to understand our customers' particular applications so that we can help them define their best opportunities for productivity. And we have that capability. We're going to add more. And we're also working with partners like McKinsey, who you're going to hear from Bob Sternfels in just a few minutes, talk about how we work together to help customers define their best opportunities for productivity, because that understanding fosters loyalty. The second element in our approach is combining the technology innovation and the expertise. And for starters, that reduces the risk. We're not in a plug-and-play world on the factory floor yet. And so there's still a need to apply that expertise through the design phase, the commissioning, the life cycle support. So there's still a role for people in this. From a Rockwell standpoint, that increases our customer share as well, because it's much easier to go to a customer that you already know that may be standardized on your products to be able to add the value add. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, simplification. Simplification drives productivity for our customers and also for us internally, because we're using one technology architecture that the whole company as a single integrated business subscribes to. And that's what we're about. That's what we're all about, is industrial productivity. So I mentioned before that you can have a general conversation about the Internet of Things, the industrial Internet of Things, but until you make it real, until you're able to talk about increasing overall equipment efficiency for a food producer, or you're talking about serialization and track and trace and how the connected enterprise is applied to help those pharmaceutical companies comply with their regulations in their industry, or you're talking about vehicle scheduling for a car manufacturer, or wellhead optimization for an oil and gas company, or increasing yield if you're a miner. Until you can make it real like that, you're just talking, and you're not really differentiated. So when we work with Fairball Foods in Minnesota on their heat recovery system, being able to use the basic control processes to help them do a better job of scheduling and to reduce product changeover, to reduce the setup time, and to make them a more efficient user of the energy, we needed to be able to talk about the specific benefits in their application. With ZMC Pharmaceutical company in China, they needed to go to a completely paperless production process, and we helped them do that by applying our MES software solutions on top of their basic process control. And Ford, which is a story we've talked about before, with information software applied consistently in most of their plants around the world, we've added to that mobility and monitoring pilots to complement the basic vehicle scheduling that they've implemented in their facilities. So it's a living thing. We can continue to derive additional productivity benefits long after the initial implementation of the control or the basic information solution. Technology is obviously moving fast, maybe faster than it ever has in our world. And so we're going to continue to develop our own talent and our own organic solutions. We have great partners, companies like Microsoft and Cisco, and hundreds of smaller companies that are with us this week. But we're also going to acquire. ACP is a great example of actually an Atlanta-based company that has some really innovative software solutions that are going to add new value to our existing portfolio of software. Helps us in areas like mobility and like security, thin client technology. Maverick Technologies is another acquisition we've made to add domain expertise, particularly in process and batch applications. And we're going to continue to go to market with systems integrators and solution providers, and you're going to see dozens of them this week, and we remain as committed as ever. But we also have to have our own internal knowledge of these applications, not only for when the customer asks us to deliver the solution, but also to inform our technology roadmaps. One of the first things we did is to take the people from Maverick Technologies, they have over 300 engineers, and to get them connected with our product developers so that we can make sure that the things we're working on in process and in batch fit with what they're seeing as the main needs in all the customers that they talk with. But our development of our capabilities starts even earlier than that. STEM education cannot be overstated in its importance to the vibrancy and the competitiveness of the manufacturing economy. I mentioned that there are hundreds of thousands of jobs that are going unfilled because people there's not enough young people with comfort around STEM skills. And Rockwell Automation, while we've long been a supporter of efforts to increase that comfort in students, has taken that commitment to a new level. And we're announcing at the show, formally, a 4-year, $12 million gift to First Robotics to help them in the great work that they're doing in inspiring young people to be interested in technology for the future. We've provided a lot of money. We've provided hundreds of volunteers every year to FIRST, but this, again, takes it to a new level. It's the biggest gift they've ever received. It's the biggest gift we've ever made. And so all of these things brought together make us really excited about the prospects for bringing the connected enterprise to life. And Bob from McKinsey is going to come up and talk about radical transformation of processes, and we think we have the opportunity to help our customers accomplish just that. And again, there's a sense of urgency because they're competing with strong companies all over the world, but we think we can help them with the best approach to unlock all that their companies can be. So I'm excited about our prospects, about the week, and for what you're going to hear over the next few hours. Thank you very much.